Hey guys, in this video I'm going to be showing you how to make API calls inside your Discord bot commands. Basically what an API allows you to do is bring in either data or functionality from somebody else's service and just do various stuff. So it'll allow you to add a lot of cool features to your bot without a lot of effort. So for this tutorial we're going to be making a joke bot. So if we just type in joke, we can see that it'll return just a random joke from this URL, which I'll have in the description. You can see basically what we're doing is it returns this when we make this call, and if we refresh we can see every time it just returns a different joke, and we're going to use that to pull it into our app and then format it. Some examples of other stuff you could do with APIs is like Unsplash. They're a website that has different images, so you can make like a wallpaper bot where if somebody types in a wallpaper command it can return a random image, just some random high def cool image. And another thing, you could do like a weather bot where you hit this API and it just returns based on their location. You could take an argument like we did in the previous video, so they could specify their zip code or something, and then you could provide weather data based on that. So those are just a few examples of the stuff you can do with APIs. If you just Google, there's just tons of different options, and they're pretty fun to mess around with. So with that said, let's get started on our joke bot. So the first thing we're going to want to do is go to our dependencies, and we're going to add a library called Axios. And what this is going to allow us to do is make that API call. So if you're not familiar with how APIs work, basically the way you can think about it is when we go to this URL in our browser, we can obviously see that we get this little formatted code with the setup and the punchline of the joke. And so what Axios allows us to do is make the call to this API, to this website inside our program. So instead of having to manually visit this URL and copy and pasting it, this will basically will do this in our program. So we'll copy and paste this value essentially, and we'll paste it into a variable just like we would here where we assign a number, or anywhere else like here where we assign our arguments. We're basically doing that inside our code. So the way to think about it once again is just it's like programmatically going to this URL and grabbing this data, and it just allows us to do it instantly or almost instantly. So once we have that installed or downloaded, we have to require it. So we're going to do const Axios equals require Axios, and then we can go down here and we're going to make another command. So we're going to do if command equals joke, and pretty much just repeat. So we have our joke command. Actually what we need to do now is go up here and we're going to add what's called async, because what happens when we make this API call is that there's a slight delay because it has to go out and retrieve that information. So if we don't add this async, what would happen is our response would return without the joke, and it'd basically just return an empty value. So once we've made that, wrote in the code for this, what I'll do is I'll remove that async, and you'll see that this will return undefined instead of returning a joke, because basically the program will finish without getting that value. So now what we want to do inside this is we're going to do let get joke equal, and we're going to do another async function, and inside this what we're going to do is let response equal await Axios.get, and we're going to just grab this URL and paste it in there. And then, so once we have our response and we've waited, that's what this command tells us, is basically we're waiting for this data to come back and assign to this variable. Then we can do let joke equal response, there we go, dot data, and this is going to be basically an exact copy of this right here. It's going to be this variable now. So then inside this we can just click return joke. Now we can go down here and we're going to do let joke value equal await get joke. So basically what we're doing is we have two async functions. We have the main one itself, and then up here our entire message response is also asynchronous, and that allows us to call this function we made right here and then wait for this value to return. And then once we do that, we have our joke value. We'll console.log it first just to make sure. So we'll do joke value. And if we save that, now we can go and test this out, and we'll come back to our log. So if we come in here and do joke, nothing should happen in here because we haven't written the response. And actually, you can see it's console log and we have an empty value. So let's try to figure out what's wrong with our data right now. So for some reason we aren't getting the response, and it's really obvious. We didn't call the function. So that's a dumb mistake. You guys probably caught it a few seconds ago, but now we can retry this. So now if we come in here, now we can see we got our joke. So basically we're getting exactly what we want. Now all we have to do is properly format this reply. So we're gonna do message.reply, and we're just gonna do backticks. We're gonna do something like, here's your joke, and then we're gonna do a new line, and then behind that we're gonna do a $sign. And what we're going to grab is this joke value, and inside this object we can see we have our setup. So we want to do joke value dot setup, and that'll basically just print this value into here. And then under that we want to do two more new lines, and then we're just going to do joke value dot punchline. Now, if we run this, we should get the exact same style response as we did earlier in the tutorial. So yeah, so we can see here's our original, and now we're getting the exact expected response. So how does the moon cut his hair? It eclipses it. So there's some cheesy jokes, but the point is that to just show the concept, you could replace any API call here. So instead of pulling in a joke here, you could use Unsplash's API. You could put that URL in here, and you'd get a random image. And instead of doing message.reply, you could do an attachment. And maybe in another tutorial, I'll make a video on that, where showing how you can attach images and files and stuff. I think I'll do that probably next video actually, because I'll be doing the moderation bot and the word filter bot, where I also attach an image. So in the first video I showed how to make this word filter bot, so I think I'll cover that as well. So if you want to attach an image, subscribe for that next video, and if this helped you out, make sure to hit like. But for now, I think I've covered everything I wanted to, so that's it.